Dave, dude, how's the back cruise?
It was fun.
Yeah?
It was fun. Had the show last night.
Yes.
Follies? Oh,
Dude, people gotta come out and see it.
Huh?
People gotta come out and see it.
I know.
All right, you ready to kick some ass?
Yep.
Let's do it. Hello and welcome to Patron!
What a room!
Oh my God!
Look at these animals.
Oh my! Bat Cruise weekend, I swear.
Woo!
I love it. I love it. It is September 22nd, 2019, Season 3, Episode 38. I'm Eric Murphy, and today, Dave Warnock.
Hey.
Dude, I'm so glad that you came back,
Me
man.
too, man. Good to see you again, Eric.
It's awesome seeing you.
Yeah.
So you were the featured speaker this year for the Bat Cruise.
Yes.
And how did you like it?
Loved it. I loved it. It was a bit churchy, you know. But
Well, it was at a church.
it was a church, yeah,
But-
with stained glass windows and everything.
But we have a good relationship with them, and,
Yeah.
and we've done it forever and a day.
Yeah.
But okay, other than the churchiness, it was a pretty packed house.
It was a good house. We had a good Q&A, lots of involvement, lots of good questions.
Absolutely.
Lots of connection with people. And then I talked to some of them last night on the Bat Cruise. And yeah, just an incredible day.
Yeah. Well, the Bat Cruise was awesome. We did not see any bats.
Yeah,
did
the
we?
bats did not cooperate.
No, they were shy.
Yeah,
but that's
I
okay.
understand.
That's nature.
Well,
That's
I
all right.
prayed, though.
Did you?
And I thought God would give us the bats, but he
Fuck.
didn't. I know. Just like always, he never showed up.
So I really don't have any major announcements other than we have a fucking packed house with a live studio audience.
Yes, we do.
So,
And they are rowdy.
oh my gosh, I'm surprised they're still here like this early after how late we were all up last night.
Yeah, it was a late night.
Right?
Oh.
People can't see, but I've got a caffeine drip actually
Yeah, he's
installed
hooked to an
underneath.
IV. There's
Yeah.
a tank back here.
Absolutely, it's
A
just
black
Red Bull.
liquid.
So without anything, yeah.
Oh.
We do have a new episode of Atheist Vanguard that's going to be on at 3.
Cool.
And other than that, dude, I want to dig into calls. We had
Yeah.
some fun last time.
We did. Before we do, let's talk a little bit about my thing.
Oh, fuck, yes.
Dying out loud, because that's what
Good.
we're doing. That's why I'm back.
Can we move this so we can get a shot of this
Out
shirt?
of the shirt.
That
This
is fucking awesome.
Yeah, it's one of our designs. We've got several, and this is just another thing.
Yeah.
This is just another way for us to kind of get the message of dying out loud out. It's what I talked about at the Bat Cruise talk yesterday, and you can get. I think they're going to have the connection, the link on the show notes and stuff like that. So it's just a way to help us spread our message. We're going everywhere. I'm going a lot of places and talking like I did yesterday, and talking about grabbing the moments, carpe the fucking diem.
Seize the fish.
Huh? What?
Seize the carp.
No, it's not carp, Eric. It's see, this is why I have to do what I'm doing. I have so much work to do.
Well, so dying out loud. So you were given a terminal diagnosis.
Yes, ALS is the diagnosis, and I've got the stats say 3 to 5 years to live, and so I'm kind of in a hurry to talk about. What I'm talking about is dying in a way that facing death in a way that is not fearful. Is we just accept it as the natural result of the life we live.
Mm-hmm.
But in opposition to that, we look at what is the life we live, and how are we living that life? Are we living it in our best way? And shows like this, I got to tell you something. I just got this morning. I was chatting with a fan, listener of the show, Kristen Frogen.
Yeah.
In Stockholm, Sweden.
Okay.
Okay? And,
Yeah, I know Kristen. She's awesome.
She told me to give you a hug yesterday.
Aw.
She's a huge fan of the show and ACA, and she listens to all of it, and she promotes it to everyone. And she was just chatting with me
She's
how...
modding in the live chat right now.
I'm sure she is. She's all over this stuff. Hey, Kristen. But she was sharing with me a conversation she was having with a friend of hers who's also a fan of the show, and just saying to me how this message is getting out there of dying out loud. What would Dave do? How would Dave think about, that's one of our other things, we have WWDD bracelets and T-shirts and stuff, and that simply means how would I, with a terminal illness, be living this part of my life? What would I be doing in this experience? Would I be frustrated, angry, sad, depressed, or would I be getting up and going? And yeah, I get frustrated, I get angry, I get sad, I get annoyed with things, especially the frustrations of living life with limitations that are increasing. Mm-hmm. But the point is, life is beautiful. Life is a collection of moments. And so she was chatting with a friend, and they were having an issue with something, and the friend was, having some anxiety or whatever, and Kristen said, "What would Dave do?"
Aww.
And then later on in the conversation, Megan, her friend, responded back, "Yeah, carpe the fucking diem."
Fuck yeah,
and
dude.
so I thought, in Sweden.
Yeah.
So I love this. I love what I'm doing and what I'm talking about, and it makes all the frustrations of life and the daily living limitations that I have worth it to be able to connect with people all over the world.
That's wonderful. That's beautiful.
Yeah, so I wanted to share that with you.
I'm really glad you did. I almost skimmed over it like some kind of yeah.
I know.
But no, it is.
We got some good questions. You're in a hurry to get to them.
Oh, but dude, it is important. Sometimes you need to order the extra bacon. At breakfast,
always bacon,
right?
always bacon.
So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, man.
All right, so let's dive into calls. I think the very first call that I really want to take is Dean in North Carolina. Dean, how are you doing?
Hey, what's going on, Eric?
Doing the show. How about you, brother?
I'm just calling into the show.
Yeah. Say hi to Dave.
Hey, what's going on, Dave? How you doing, man?
Hey, Dean. Good to hear from you.
So for people who don't know who Dean is an apologist who visited Austin recently.
Yeah, last month. One of the things that I just wanted to say before I ask the question is I want to thank everybody who was there about a month ago at the ACA for treating me with hospitality and respect. Had a lot of good conversations, and one of the things that I like to try to promote is wherever I can is that even though we disagree on some very serious issues, that there is still the possibility to be civil with one another in a culture that is becoming increasingly uncivil. So I just want to give a shout out to the ACA and everybody there. And the next time that I visit, I don't know if Matt Dillahunty's there, but I'd like to challenge Matt Dillahunty to a lip sync battle of a Taylor Swift song.
Oh,
yes.
Throwdown.
Absolutely. so that is actually a bit of a behind the scenes thing for people who have not been to the studio. It is a tradition. I don't think I've ever said this on air before.
Oh boy.
It has been a tradition that before every single episode we listen to Taylor Swift.
Okay, don't judge people. Don't judge.
Well, because it's so poppy and exciting, and haters gonna hate.
It does get you going.
And there's actually a video of every guest that's ever been in this seat singing to Taylor Swift with me. Just for a moment, go back in your head and think about who's been on this show. It exists.
I love it.
And it's locked down. But dude, it was awesome having you out, man. I absolutely agree. And I think that you can disagree with someone and not write them off completely. And that's important because you're not going to get to productive dialogue. And again, I'll start by saying not everyone's obligated to have these conversations. And so if and this is true on the Christian side and the atheist side, and I know you know this is true, don't be an asshole to somebody who doesn't want to have that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, no doubt.
That said, for those of us who do want to have that conversation, we can say, hey, I disagree with the content of your argument, but that doesn't mean that I am disparaging the content of your character.
Yeah.
And Dean, you stayed at my house. You slept on my couch when you were out here. And
it's funny how many Christians are, kind of gave me the, what? You did what?
Did you get any atheist on you?
And I was like, yeah.
Yeah, no, it was great.
What?
Yeah. Did you get any atheist on you?
No, I have the repellent.
Okay, good. Yeah, that's important that you spray up before you go into an atheist house.
No,
there you go.
No, disagreement is cool. I've disagreed with a lot of people who are wrong. So, no, I'm just kidding.
That took me a second. That took me a second.
I could tell you're going, wait, what?
But so Dean, you actually wanted to bring up an apologetic. You wanted to bring up an argument.
Yeah. So not that I've studied this argument specifically in any type of depth, but I just wanted y'all's opinion on a fairly not new argument. It's been around since Haley. but it was recently brought back into frame by Lydia and Tim McGrew. It's called Undesigned Coincidences, and that's to kind of explain that. That's when, when an account of one event omits pieces or a piece of information which are incidentally filled in by another account. So it's kind of like when the police separate the eyewitnesses and they say, hey, what happened? And this guy says, well, the fight happened at a coffee shop, down on North Main, and it was crowded. And then the other guy says, well, it happened down on North Main, and right before the fight happened, the guy knocked coffee on the other guy. So
Sure.
Those would be two separate accounts that leave out pieces of information but are incidentally filled in. And I guess from the premise of the argument that it would show that there was no cooperation in certain areas between the two.
But we don't have. I'm sorry, but we don't have that with the Bible, do we?
Have what?
We don't have independent, accounts outside of the book that they're in. On top of that, many of those accounts were written after the fact by people who never even met or were with those people, and yet include direct narratives and conversations that people had privately. And so in filling that in, I would say that you could not say that they were, undesigned, because you can actually see the growth from book to book. As time goes on, they added to the story, and so you have, the character of Jesus, meek and mild, who said, "Father, take this cup from me," and you have this progression to a Jesus who is not only, just kicking butt and taking names, but forgiving the people on either side of them, and saying, by the end of this day, you'll be with me in heaven. Those are all accounts that knew about each other and built on each other. I think it would be more like fan fiction than it would be an uncorroborated story that happens to meet up.
Okay, so I guess from what you're saying, then you don't find that argument convincing because you don't think that those are early.
Well, actually, the thing is I find the argument itself convincing. I don't think it's applicable here.
Okay, gotcha.
Because of the way the books were written and when they were written. Yeah.
I mean, if you were to get multiple eyewitnesses to a thing, that would absolutely help rule out, these personal narratives that we read into everything that we do, and that's wonderful. But when you're taking that and kind of doing it in a post hoc fashion from a single source, and that source is the compiled books of the Bible, then you have all of these really wonky things going on. Like, if you had, did you watch Talk Heathen, right, Dean?
Yeah.
Do you remember the guy that called in about prophecy?
Yeah, which guy?
About a week ago, called about fulfilled prophecies. And it's just difficult for me because they had the prophecy in if you have the opportunity to make it true, or you have the ability to write that it happened but be unchallenged on it, then the best we can do is look at that and be like, yeah, that's a thing that was written, but we don't have substantiating evidence.
Mm-hmm.
Well, just my personal approach, my cup of tea is if I'm going to personally argue for the reliability or the historical reliability of something like the resurrection or the historical reliability of the Gospels, I'm not going to appeal to fulfilled prophecy because I know more likely than not, and I'm not saying this with
you
any
heretic
malice or disrespect.
Sorry,
I'm not going to say it with any malice or anything like that, but I understand that, and we've had this conversation before, Eric. I know that that's not going to fly with you. So why am I going to use fulfilled prophecy as an apologetic when I know that you don't believe that? So the better thing to do is to just look at these as ancient documents and say, okay, well, are they, historically reliable, and not appeal to things like inerrancy or fulfilled prophecy or something like personal experience or somebody else's experience. So in that sense, to a very nuanced level, I agree that there's no way that I could convince you or anybody else probably over there that the Gospels are historically reliable by talking about fulfilled prophecy.
The problem I have with all of what we're talking about here to begin with is that we're using the Bible to understand the Bible and to make sense of the Bible. The problem with even the Gospel, just going with that, because that's the bulk of what we're discussing here, there's no extra biblical historical writing about Jesus and his activities. In fact, history proves that some of the things that the Bible says, like there was a census when Jesus was born, that didn't happen. His history has shown that. So we got problems right out of the gate with the veracity of Scripture, and then when we try to use Scripture to verify Scripture on top of that, and then we're looking to compare coincidences and inconsistencies, the whole thing is problematic because there's no one in that era that's verifying that these things happen. I mean, if you've got a zombie apocalypse going on and you've got 500 people wandering around Jerusalem at the resurrection, I would think someone would notice that.
Well, but not everybody takes a literal viewpoint. Dean, do you think that literally people rose from the dead when Jesus died?
Well, I really don't know. Number one, I think that there's a huge debate even within the apologetics world about whether or not Matthew means that to be apocalyptic literature of something taking place later down the line, or whether he means that to be literal. And you'll have guys on both sides that will say it happened, and you'll have guys like Craig and Lacona who will say that it's apocalyptic literature. It's a literal device used in
to be a fly on the wall for that conversation, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that is. Yeah, I live for that.
Yeah.
But I would like to just raise a minor objection to
what's up?
What David said is, this is the same. I don't know if it's the exact same issue that I had with Noah when he was on, but I guess I don't understand the whole use the Bible to prove the Bible. I mean, that would be like saying if I wanted to know something about Caesar and I had a Roman author, even if he was anonymous, and even if it was written 80 years after the fact and wrote about Caesar, that would be like saying, well, you can't use this document about Caesar to prove what Caesar did because it has Caesar action in it. So I don't understand. It seems to be a little bit
not quite
to me because it seems like that's how history is done. History is done by taking sources that talk about a certain event or a certain person without appealing to inspiration, without appealing to fulfilled prophecy, and saying, all right, what can we gather from these sources about what took place?
Well, to answer that, can I?
Yeah, please.
At the end of the day, I don't care whether Caesar lived or died or not, because Caesar's not making any claim on my life for heaven or hell. So I don't give a flying fuck whether Caesar ever lived. I mean, let's just be real. But when we're talking about Jesus, the Son of God, and God's blueprint for man, the most important thing ever written, according to what Christians would claim, your claim is that God has a claim on my life, and that if I don't believe in him, if I don't believe in Jesus, then my eternal destiny hangs in the balance. That's some pretty important stuff. And the problem
I agree.
The problem I have with, I would think you would. The problem I have with the Bible and with the way that God communicated, if I'm God and I want to communicate with all the people of the world, all throughout history, the most important message in the history of mankind, I'm going to be pretty damn clear about my communications. And just your example of whether Matthew meant that literally or it was an allegory, it was prophetic or whatever, why is it so damn complicated? Why does it take years, eons of people arguing about what the Bible means, what it doesn't mean? If I'm God and I'm communicating the most important message in the history of mankind, and I'm that muddy with it, I've done a pretty poor job of communicating. And then tack on that...
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
And then tack on the lack of any outside sources talking about this person, Jesus, who was supposedly the man who was changing the world. It's pretty shoddy to me. It's a shaky foundation at best.
Well, I think we've got a couple of issues there. I think one is, trying to surmise the reason or purpose behind why God would do something is different than looking at a document and saying whether or not it's history, I think, number one. But because the Muslims have a claim on your life, too.
Mm-hmm.
Islam has a claim on your life. But I don't know. Would you say that we couldn't look at the Quran and see whether or not some of the things that have taken place in the Quran as they're written down were historical events or not? I don't know.
I don't know the Quran. Yeah.
I'm just saying,
if you write some things, that are going to happen, then you're going to hit them on a certain percentage of them. Everybody talking about the second coming of Christ. There's going to be wars and rumors of wars and earthquakes and all that, and they've been saying that since I was a Christian in the 70s. Well, that shit's been happening for 40 years, and he's still not here, I don't think. He may have come and gone. I missed him. I don't know.
But if I can, what I'm just saying is, asking the question about why God would communicate this is different than looking at a document and saying whether it's history or not. And I think that we can look at documents, whether they're religious in nature or not, and ask the question, all right, is this event like Jesus' crucifixion that's in all four Gospels?
Mm-hmm.
It's even talked about, and I don't know whether you're a mysticist or not, but it would seem like it's talked about outside in secular sources, and say, all right, is that event?
I'm not sure I agree with that.
Historical.
I'm not sure I agree with it. It's talked about in outside sources. I mean, Josephus mentions Jesus in passing in one thing.
No,
is that wrong?
He mentions somebody.
Right, not Jesus.
Named Yeshua.
Yeah, exactly. And that's my point. That's the only reference that I know of extra biblical.
Well, it might be a reference, but the thing is, it
may not even be right.
Yeah.
Well, Josephus talks about James, who's the elder at the Jerusalem church, about how he was killed and he was the brother of Jesus. Tacitus talks about it as well. I mean, John Dominic Crofton, who's a member of the Jesus Seminar, who thinks the whole Bible is a metaphor, says that Jesus' crucifixion is as historical as anything can ever be.
Yeah, I think you would agree.
Jesus, yeah.
Well, a guy named Jesus, yeah. But if you want to say, supernatural events, we're going to.
Yeah. That's where we break down.
Absolutely, because I think that there's far more evidence of the Bat Cruise yesterday than there was of a lot of those things, and I don't want to retread too much,
right?
But what I will say on the accuracy of the Bible is we're looking at the Bible as a source. And we need to look at whether or not it's reliable. And we can point out places where it's not. And because of that, it does not appear to be a reliable source for information. So if we're still appealing to it, then we're on shaky ground to begin with.
Yeah, that was what I was trying to say. You said it better because you're a pro.
No, I actually what I got from what you said is that if God had the power to be a better communicator, then God would
that's the thing I've always come back to. I mean, this is the most important message in the history of mankind, and the delivery system was pretty bad. In fact, I'm thinking, why didn't he wait another couple thousand years when literacy and the internet and everything, we could have video footage of the crucifixion and the resurrection. I mean, Mary and them could have been with an iPhone at the resurrection and just got the whole thing.
Well,
and then there'd be.
Well, let me go ahead. Sorry.
That's all right. I'm just messing with you.
No, I got you. So let me ask you this: if there was the internet and a video, and there was a video of the resurrection, would you believe it?
That's a good question. I'd be more inclined to give credence to it than I do now. So I'd want to know more about what's going on.
I mean, yeah.
Okay.
evidence needs to be investigated.
Yeah,
And,
I mean, strong claims need strong evidence.
But with that said,
I
Dean,
guess I'm sorry, do we have to go?
I could talk to you for days.
So he's going to call you tonight, and you guys can.
Oh, no, he and I actually have video shot together,
Yeah.
and we are going to be continuing to go over philosophy discussions. Not on this channel, though.
But I had fun out there in Austin. Next time I'm in Austin, I'll stop by the ACA. Appreciate you guys and the way that you've treated me out there, and take care, guys.
You're a good dude, Dean.
Call back whenever. Hey, I appreciate it, man. You are too.
Good conversation,
So
buddy.
take care.
All right.
Oh, and hey,
Yeah,
Dean,
man.
Dean,
Yeah.
we still need to have that talk about the Kalam cosmological argument.
We do, because I have no problem with disagreeing with people who are wrong.
There you go.
Oh,
See?
that's such a good callback.
See, you're
all right.
at least you're listening,
Get
Dean.
right,
At
Dean.
least you learned something today. Hey, Dean, carpe the fucking diem.
Take care, brother.
Hey, take
Bye.
care, guys.
That was good.
Right? I
That
like
was
Dean.
good.
He's a good guy.
He's a good guy.
So we have somebody else who has a formula to prove the existence of God. Richard in Malaysia. You're live with Eric and Dave. How are you doing?
Yes, I'm doing fine. First, before we continue, can you hear me clearly? No feedback.
So far, so
Yeah,
good.
sounds good.
We have a master audio engineer who can make everything sound amazing. And we adore him.
That's great. It's kind of
Lord
like
of
God,
levels. Oh, the
Supposed to be
savior of
master
sound.
Engineer.
May our voices please his ears. Vern Grainer. I hope he finds his way into your life. Richard, go ahead. What would you like to talk about?
What was
Okay,
that?
first, hello, Eric and David.
Hi, Richard.
Firstly, I have 5 things to talk about. The first 4 real quick will take 30 seconds. Before I start that, I just want to firstly thank both of you for being a voice of critical reasoning and intelligence in the U.S. media. Because when you listen to the U.S. media, your mind goes bonkers after a while. Because even the non-Fox News channels like CNN, which do not obviously lie, they sometimes are biased and it's very clear. And it's silly. But you guys are very precise, very rational. Most of the time, I wonder how is it people can disagree with you logically, but they try their best. So thank you very much. It's a breath of fresh air to me.
Thank you. The interesting thing is we're not trying to set up an indefensible position. We want to learn what's true. And so if we find that we were wrong,
search for truth.
Yeah, if we find, oh my gosh, this is actually the way it is, then we want to take that position.
Yeah, that's why if I saw video evidence, I would pay attention and investigate that. Okay, what is this? Is this a trick? I want to know. I want to know the truth.
How do we find out? But Richard, my red flags are shooting up when you say I want to talk about 4 things in 30 seconds and then keep going, because that sounds like a gish gallop. And so what I want to do is I want to really make sure that we close in on.
No, trust me. Okay, I'll go through it very quick. Second,
Richard, Richard, $2. I bet you. I'm sorry, Dave. I bet you $2 we're going to get a gish gallop. What do you think?
Well, I
$2.
don't really know what a gish gallop is, but I'm going to defer to you on that.
Okay. Fuck. Fine.
That's okay.
Any takers in the audience?
In other words,
Yes?
he just goes through them real quick, and we don't have to have a chance to respond, right?
Yeah.
Okay. No. I'm just actually asking questions more than anything else.
Okay. Sure.
Okay, first one, Exodus 21. Exodus 21 talks about slavery, right?
Yeah.
You've had many people call in to try and defend that, and it's frustrating to listen to this. I just wanted to ask you, is there anyone who has called in and try to defend that when you explicitly show them that this is slavery, and who's black, actually? Are they all white?
No.
Yeah, I think you have.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. All right.
You know what, man? It's when you really believe at that level.
You don't listen to reason.
Well, and it's not just that, but the context of it is so divorced from the rest of the things that you use. It's like people pull out a very specific toolbox when they talk about religion. And then they can have the right tools. They just don't apply it in this context. And we kind of do that for a lot of things. We compartmentalize and then we use those tools only when we think they're appropriate, but sometimes they're just bad tools. So, yeah.
I see. Okay. All right, so that's the first one. Secondly, the Prophet Muhammad, when he wrote the Quran, he struck out certain verses from the final version. He called them satanic verses. That means he initially included them and then later thought about it and said, no, these are wrong. It doesn't make sense. I'm striking it out. These to me are satanic verses. The devil gave it to me. Now, did anyone say anything like that? Any Christian calling into you ever say anything like that about Exodus 21? These are verses that should not have been there because God would never say something like this. Somehow he made it there. Did anyone ever say that?
I don't know off the top of my head, but really, honestly, we've talked to some wild characters.
Matt says yes.
Matt is going, yes, that is a thing that has happened.
Ray Comfort.
Ray Comfort, thank you, Matt.
Oh, of course.
Ray Comfort said that.
Yeah, I would say those are satanic verses. I mean, if I just want to have fun with people. But
well, let me speak to that because I don't want to Gish Gallop past that, since I know what Gish Gallop is now. Regardless of those satanic verses, let's just say those verses in Exodus were satanic. Here's the problem I have with the whole slavery issue, and it's the Ten Commandments, okay? So slavery was a common practice in that day. We know that. And yet when God designed, and that's what conservative Christians in America want to base, they want to say that our legal system and the laws is based on the Ten Commandments and morality, and how can you have morality without God and all those things? Well, if God is going to lay out his 10 commandments, the top 10, these are the top 10. He's sorted through a bunch of stuff he wants man to do and not do, and he's come down to top 10. I would think at the very close to the top of that would be something to the effect of, thou shalt not own another human being as property. And yet, instead of that, we have, thou shalt have no graven images. So God is more important. It's more important to God that you don't have a graven image in your house, whatever the hell that is, rather than not own another human. So take out the satanic verses all you want, and I'm still left with the problem of the Ten Commandments leaving out slavery.
I had that conversation with my mother.
Yeah? How'd it go?
It was great. By the time we ended it, she said, "We're not going to talk about this again." Because I went.
How do you argue with that?
Well, the first half of them don't have to do with anyway. See, now we're gish galloping.
I'm sorry.
On Richard.
Sorry, Richard.
Richard.
I just didn't want to let that pass.
Yeah, we meet people where they're at. If they say that they believe a thing, that's where we want to talk to them, because that's where the conversation is going to be most effective.
I see. Well, anyway, the thing is, just a quick comment on the Ten Commandments. Basically, much of the Bible is just a propaganda tool to justify the government of that day and military exploits. This is commonly done by all cultures, actually. Anyway, okay. The third thing is, I want to suggest an approach to you, because I notice a lot of people, when they come in and you ask them to prove that God exists, they refer to the Bible again and again and again, which is silly because you can't refer to the very thing you're trying to prove.
Yeah, it's circular.
I just had that
Whereas maybe you can come out to some. Maybe you can give them this example, like say a book of physics. Say I don't know anything about science, and I pick up a book that is written about physics. To me, at that point, when I know nothing about physics, that book contains all kinds of assertions. To me, they are just assertions, but the book tells me how I can validate those assertions. Like physics, the physics books may say you can do electrolysis on water and you'll get hydrogen and oxygen. Mm-hmm. So that's an assertion. Then it goes on to say this is how you set up the experiment and this is what you'll get. And you can actually do that.
And you have a formula. You have a formula to prove the existence of God.
Let's go to that.
So here's the formula to prove the existence of God. Now, I'm sure you've noticed that every Christian who calls you ultimately comes and starts discussing with you, ultimately says, it's all about faith. You have to take it on faith. I think very few.
I wouldn't strike everybody out under that exact same thing. It varies by person, and that is a very big, common line. But I always.
Okay.
Oftentimes people end up there when they're kind of backed into a corner. They've tried to do reason or some kind of proof, and then that has been struck down, so they kind of in the corner say, well, you just have to take it by faith.
Yeah, it's
It's kind of a default position, maybe.
No. Okay.
Yeah.
So I can prove to you that, in Jesus, in the New Testament, Jesus does a lot of miracles, and he had a bunch of people following him around who saw him doing miracles consistently for 3 years.
a lot of claims.
And whenever they were surprised when he did miracles, he always told them, look, why are you so surprised? These things and more shall you also do. Have faith. And, and he talked in Mark 11:23, he talks about faith. When they were surprised that, the fig tree died after he said it would die, he talks about this. So basically, when you actually have faith, according to Jesus, you are supposed to be able to do miracles consistently. He expects you to do so.
Which is why we have snake handling Christians out here in the American South.
Yep.
Sorry? I didn't hear that.
We have snake handling Christians out here in the American South because they follow that tenet, which I believe has been shown by Christian scholars to be added much later. So I wouldn't use that one in particular.
The end of Mark.
Because even Christian scholars have written
healing miracles. They are supposed to be able to do miracles, healing miracles.
Okay.
Yeah. And the thing is, because you can logically explain to someone that, look, you can take any book, even the Quran or anything, and you can learn it so well that you can quote it and cross-reference it left to right. That is just an act of intelligence which everybody has. They want to study it long enough, they can understand it.
So what's the formula?
And so the thing is, yes, if they have faith, if they say that, look, I have faith, if you have faith, just like a physics book that says you can do this and you can do this. And
Richard, hold on. Before we move forward, Richard, how do you define faith? Because I think we're going to wind up talking past each other if we don't have a definition for faith.
Oh, we don't. I'm not proposing to define faith.
You probably should if it's part. No, hold on. You probably should have a definition of faith if you're putting that in.
It's part of the formula.
Yeah. So what is faith?
If we have ingredients for a formula, we have to define the ingredients.
So what is faith?
Well, I would disagree because if a Christian is talking to me about faith, I would say your Bible is talking about faith, and your Jesus saying faith is supposed to, enable you to do all of this. So whatever you think is faith, because you're a Christian, and this, of course, only applies to a Christian. Yeah. Whatever you believe is faith, if you actually have that faith, you should be able to do this. And if you don't have enough faith to be able to do this, you should be working towards that.
So, what's funny, Richard, is what it makes me think of is the Book of Mormon. Because in the Book of Mormon, Joseph Smith references different things that don't exist. He created creatures and foodstuffs and things that, in currency that did not actually exist. And he references them as, he's kind of building this world up. And so if I were to make a cake using the made-up ingredients, I couldn't substitute flour for it. And it doesn't matter how much I want it to be flour if it's actually salt, or the other way around. We're not going to be able to bake that cake. We need to have, like Dave said, an understanding of the ingredients.
Yeah, and consistent ingredients. A lot of people think of faith in different ways, so it's not a standard definition.
Yeah, but we want to know what your definition is if you think that it'll get us to your conclusion.
Well, I don't know. The thing is, for me, faith from what you read in the Bible is a certainty that God will get something done.
Okay,
that's
good.
God will do.
Okay, certainty that God will get something done. So,
yes,
if faith is certainty
in terms of miracles, because miracles is explicit proof. If you can do consistent miracles, you have a form of explicit, demonstrable, objective proof.
But
so
Richard, hold on. No, Richard, hold on.
Okay, sorry.
No, that's okay. There are con artists who have fooled hundreds of thousands of people because they have been able to make them think that they were performing miracles. So what we need to do is find out, how can we test that?
I just watched a magician last night, saw a woman in half.
Yeah, but...
very simple. I can show you how to test it. Anyone who, if they say they can do miracles, they will come to you they will come to you and they will tell you that I can do these miracles because I have faith, and the proof of my faith is I can do these miracles.
I've had those people call in.
I'm sure you can set up the proper test, and there will be nothing wrong with that.
Okay, so when we can test,
be able to do miracles.
Perfect. We've been able to test miracles, and so far none have fleshed themselves out. And because of that, using your definition of faith, it is not justifiable to use faith because we cannot reliably expect that God will pull the trigger on that, and so it falls apart there.
Are you suggesting that your formula to prove God is that someone can do miracles? Because I'm kind of trying to put together what you're saying.
Yeah, because the thing is, for those people who claim that, Jesus is God and all of that, and he talked a lot about your contact with God, your faith in God, and he continually asserted that you should be able to do miracles.
Right. Is this your formula, by the way?
That's what I'm trying to get to.
Sorry?
Yeah. Is this your formula?
I believe this is the formula.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
This is the only way to prove it.
Can you state it in a clear, concise way? Yeah. Don't contextualize it. Just say, X, do this,
formula
and then
prove God is
right in the way that you can bake a cake. We can do that with physics, like your example.
Yes.
Okay. What is it?
Yes. Yeah. If you had true faith in God according to the New Testament, you should be able to do miracles consistently.
Okay. Stop. You could not give us a definition for faith, and so if the whole thing is contingent on faith.
True faith, you said. You have true faith.
And what true faith is? Do you know what the no true Scotsman fallacy is, Richard?
No, I'm sorry.
No problem.
You mentioned it.
Are you a believer?
I believe in God, but I can't demonstrate it.
No, I'm just wanting to make sure that I'm talking to you in a way. I don't want to talk past you. I was a Christian, and as a Christian, I belonged to a very specific denomination, and we had very clear views of how we thought that God behaved. And we would look at other faiths who called themselves Christians.
They weren't true Christians.
And we'd say, well, they're not true Christians because they're not doing it the way I would do it.
Yeah. And so when you reference faith and you say and you predicate that with true faith, then that tells me that you've got levels of faith in your mind. And this is what I experienced. Richard, I was a Christian for over 35 years and a charismatic evangelical Christian, and believed in miracles, believed in prophecy, believed in all the things in the Bible. And over the course of those years, I had many, 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 many people say things like that. If you have faith, you can say this and it'll happen. You can pray this, it'll happen. And when it didn't happen, and I've seen people die who were prayed for, I've seen young mothers die, I've seen teenagers in car wrecks, I've seen all kinds of things happen, and these people were being prayed for by fervent, spirit-filled Christians, and every time it didn't happen, which is every time, because it never happened, it was always, well, you just didn't have enough faith, or it wasn't God's will, or there were 100 excuses for the reasons that God didn't answer prayer, because God has never answered prayers like that. Wow. So when you say you've got to have true faith, it automatically tips me off that you've got this, I'm guessing you've got this idea that, well, the formula to prove God is this, and if you're not able to prove God, you just didn't have the right kind of faith.
Yeah, it becomes unfalsifiable.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, that's the true Scotsman's. Okay, well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't say it's, right kind of faith. The thing is, if you have faith, you're supposed to be able to do this. If you don't have faith, you won't be able to do this. It's just that. It's
so Richard, here's your homework.
Use the Bible to justify it.
Right, here's your homework. The homework is, I would love for you to call back with a clear definition of faith. That way we can put that to the test, because we're happy to meet you where you're at and take that definition so we can move forward and have a productive conversation. But until we can understand what you're hinging it on, it's way too nebulous. It's making up a word, and if you don't have blah, then, well, what is blah? We have to define that first.
Right.
So come up with a definition, call back, and then we'll try again.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds good. We're not trying to be assholes here. It's just...
No, it's not that. I don't understand it, because, you see, they are saying they say that, only God can do miracles and in Jesus' name. And Jesus says you are supposed to be able to do miracles if you have faith.
So,
Right.
So if they can do miracles consistently,
But it's
are you doing
Therefore,
consistent miracles? Let me just ask you this. Are you doing consistent miracles?
No, I'm not. I'm not saying
Who
that
is?
this is me.
Who
I'm
is?
saying that, for all the many Christians who call in, wind up saying that you have to have faith, take it on faith and all of this. And it's so easy to claim that. It's the easiest thing in the world.
Okay, but here's my question to you, Richard. Here.
Yeah.
You're saying that the doing of miracles is the formula for proving God. So where are the miracles being done? Because I want to go there. I want to see them.
I don't know, but
I don't either.
I don't know, but a lot of Christians listen to you, and when they wind up with this argument finally, if you put this to them, they will work on it. And if they finally get to that point where they can do these miracles, they can come and tell
but
you.
they're not doing
Whoa,
them.
hold on. Pause.
Yeah.
Yep.
Are you offering a tool that you think will help us with Christians who are not like you?
I'm not a Christian, but what I'm saying is... I'm saying this is the tool, actually.
Okay,
but, yeah.
got it. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. And I'll tell you why. Because I have people who message every week, and they say, I have the magic bullet. I have the one thing that will forever change and end this view of Christianity and Christianity in general, because all you have to do is... And usually it's an inconsistency in the Bible, or there's some hypocrisy or something like that. And the thing is people believe for different reasons, and their styles of belief and what they accept as true are so different that we have to meet them where they're at. And so what I was hoping, right, when I saw you in the list, it said that you're a theist, you're a believer, and I wanted to meet you where you were at, and that's what we thought we were doing.
Yeah.
I don't want you to speak on behalf of somebody that you don't agree with, because we can have those people call in. I want to talk to you about what you believe.
Sure.
So that said,
Well,
I think we spent a lot of time on this call.
Thank you.
Instead of coming up with a definition for faith, if you want to talk about what you believe and why, call back in, okay?
Well, okay, that's fine.
Thank
call
you,
back
Richard.
in. Thank you, guys. Eric, thank you, David. Thank you.
bet.
Have a good
Thank
day.
you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, I think by that definition, he proved that there was no God, so I guess we're good there.
Well, it's interesting, because it's often this immediate circular. If you want to believe, then you should believe, and if you believe, then you'll believe. It's okay.
Yeah.
But not a big justification. Before we move forward, I want to thank our top patrons.
Okay.
Every single week, we thank our top 5 patrons. If you would like to become a patron, you can go to patreon.com/talkheathen-to-me. It keeps the lights on. It keeps us able to do awesome stuff. It keeps us able to do the Bat Cruise, where we can see awesome live studio audience! It's not every week that we get a crowd this big.
I know.
I fucking love it.
That's cool.
But
and they're so responsive. I got to, you just...
right? The yeah, right? Yeah. The ACA is a 501c3 nonprofit, and those donations really do get put to good work. And our top 5 patrons this week are Charlotte Crum, Desert Heathen, Dr. Funkenstein, Joe Joyner, and Coyote. Thank you so much. It is your donations that keep us able to keep doing this. If you'd like to become a patron, like I said, patreon.com/talkheathen-to-me. And if you can't be a patron, that's okay too. I've had people message in, and I really can't afford it, but I really wish I could support you. You still can. Leave a positive review, because there are people who go through atheist shows and will downvote it and leave negative reviews just to try and lower its visibility.
The trolls do that, don't they? Yeah.
Leave a good review on iTunes and Google Play.
And send thoughts
hit
and
thumbs
prayers
up.
if you can't send money.
Subscribe. That's even better. Hit subscribe. Ring the bell. Those help us grow and become more likely to pop up in recommended videos. So please do that. That said, I think I've whored out enough.
Hey, that was...
Yeah.
No, that was fine, actually.
Yeah,
Who are we going to?
I want to go to Jay in Missouri. Jay.
Hey, guys. Hey, Eric, David, how are you today?
Hey, Jay.
Good.
Awesome. Hey,
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go.
I was just going to say, start off by saying, David, I really appreciate you. I'm a theist. I'm a believer, but I really appreciate the perspective that you are putting out there with, how important every day is. I think atheists, theists alike, we should all agree, or we should all be able to agree that every single day is a gift, one way or the other, and that we really do need to live our lives that way. So I really do appreciate that message that you're putting out there.
Thank you.
Cheers, man.
Yeah.
That was very nice.
That's very nice.
What would you like to talk about?
Well, I wanted to hopefully try to build a bridge a little bit between atheists and theists. I know that might seem like an odd concept, but
Were you on the line when Dean called?
Absolutely, yeah.
We're working on it, man. Come on. All right, what's up, brother?
Well, I think I have something to add to that.
Cool.
So I've been watching Atheist Experience Talk Heathen for a few months now.
Okay.
Really appreciate the dialogue and so forth.
Rock on.
But really had a thought, and see where you guys come down on this. But basically my thought was about rationality.
Okay.
And the thought processes of logic and, using the tools of logic that you always talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought about human beings and how we're really set up and how we operate.
Yeah.
And it seems like when it comes down to it, rationality is one main tool that we use, but there's another tool, and that's emotional intelligence and instinct.
Okay,
Do you guys agree with that?
Or you're talking about EQ.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Yeah. So I would like to help define this a little bit, and it's a bit of an aside, but I promise it does have a purpose.
Okay.
So there's a study. It's called hermeneutics. Are you aware of hermeneutics?
I am very much.
If you would like to describe hermeneutics, it's probably better coming from a Christian than me. Would you like to describe it for the people watching?
Yeah, I'll just try to break it down. Basically,
and exegesis, obviously.
Okay. It's a broad way of looking at things so that you can make quicker, more efficient decisions where you kind of categorize things. Does that sound accurate?
Not quite, actually. So what I get from hermeneutics, and you might be talking about something that I'm just not aware of, but hermeneutics is the study of text to better understand. So let's say you are going through a historical record and there are references to something that you don't know what it is.
Right.
It's the same way in pop culture. We're always referencing shit. We've been doing that forever. And if we're reading about a culture that we never knew, there are references to things that we don't understand. And so as you learn more, maybe you finally figure it out. Oh, that's what it is. I'm going to take that information and I'm going to plug it back in so that I can have a more, clear understanding of what that is, right?
Sure. That makes sense.
And so I could do this, let's say in, 2,000 years from today, Spider-Man was dug up. And it turns out there was a Spider-Man, and he lived in New York, right?
Right.
We can learn a lot about the actual world by going through it, because we could learn about the political climate and the culture and the way people treated each other. We can learn a whole lot about the society, right? But it didn't actually prove that Spider-Man was real.
Sure.
But it did help. And so it just didn't help with that specific thing. And so when you talk about the difference between IQ and EQ, I think emotional intelligence is an incredibly important thing. And I would never disparage it. But I don't think it enters in when you're talking about things that you use logic and reason for necessarily. I mean, there are sometimes people...
Can I break in here?
Yeah, please.
Because I think this is probably where we might disagree a little bit, because basically what I've found in some of my research is human beings make a lot of decisions that don't involve a lot of information. Like, we're usually lacking information. Like, we'll make a decision because you have to make decisions to live your life effectively.
Sure.
In order to do that, you can't sit down and break down everything, hours and hours of information,
crunch the numbers. It's just not practical.
Yeah, sure.
So most of the time we make our decisions, we have to make a decision with a big question mark in the equation.
Always.
Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we do the best on the information we have.
I would say as a skeptic,
Exactly.
as a skeptic, you can't come to 100% knowledge about anything.
Right, because we're always looking for a better answer.
Exactly. But you still have to live your day. You have to live your life.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to base that on something. So if you're lacking the information, you can't just put yourself in a holding pattern for your whole life.
Right.
And especially on the big questions, we're talking about God, existence of God.
Mm-hmm.
We're never going to know 100% one way or the other.
Right.
But we have to operate our lives based on one choice or the other.
Well,
you're describing my life was what you're doing, and that's what I did. As a young man, I put my faith in Jesus and lived that way for the better part of 3.5 decades. And so I gave it all I had, and then I got better information. And so once I got better information...
What you consider is better information.
Well, no, it's not just what I consider. It's information that I considered important. It wasn't just an opinion that I came to, or I didn't just wake up one day and said, oh, well, fuck you, God, I'm done with you. It was a long, laborious process of discovery of origins of the Bible and Christian history and those kind of things. But my point is, I was doing what you said, and I was basing my belief in God on the best information I had at the time, but I hadn't done the research that I should have done on such an important issue. I was doing what Maya Angelou said, do the best you can until you know better. And then when you know better, do better. And that is my life.
Right.
I'm doing better now.
I guess my question, we're talking about the rational evaluation of a theist belief that you were making.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What about the emotional side, the instincts that you had? I mean, any powerful experience?
My instincts were wrong.
During that
That's
time.
my point. I was basing it on instincts and emotional intelligence, and I came to see that my instincts were wrong. I had limited information or bad information, and I was basing big things on those instincts. And I think the rational thing to do, and like Eric said, as skeptics, when we recognize that our instincts are wrong, we don't just double down on it and say, well, I'm already this far in, I might as well finish out. I've got, the sunk cost fallacy. I've got most of my life in this thing. I might as well just,
forge ahead.
grin and bear it. Hell no. Whatever life I've got left, I'm gonna change my perspective on it, because I realized and I admitted. I mean, it's a hard thing to do, to wake up after 35 years and say, wow, I was really wrong. I was wrong about that. And it's not easy to say you were wrong when it cost you a lot, which it did me.
Hey, Jay?
Right.
I'd like
would you say that...
Could I ask you a quick question? I'm sorry. I know that we're both jumping in on you, but we're both excited to have to talk to you about this. So please, I'm not trying to stomp in, but did you want to respond before I jumped in?
Well, I was just going to say, I was just going to ask a question to David. What created the instinct that he had for 35 years? If he was going by instincts, what was it
that's begging the question.
His instincts to go that way?
That's begging the question, Jay. What you're doing is we can probably not beg the question, and if you did that, then you would probably come up to a different conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
But what I really would like to ask is, it seems like you're putting a whole lot of stock in EQ and gut instincts, and there's a place and time for that in the same way that there's a place and a time for hermeneutics. I'm saying that gut instincts don't reliably get you to truth, and I bet you don't either. And here's the example. Dave.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you like bacon?
Love it.
Absolutely. So should I have bacon every day, all day?
Every day, yes.
God damn it, Dave.
No. You should only do what you feel like you should do. No.
Well, it's not healthy.
No.
It's not healthy. And
it's not?
No. Well, you don't have to worry.
Okay, I don't really.
Yeah,
not my problem.
Yeah, I don't think bacon's going to be what
I
takes
eat all
you
the
out,
bacon
buddy.
I want, man.
Right?
I eat anything I want.
Please do. Please eat extra bacon
yeah.
for me. But for the rest of us, Jay, You're not making your dietary decisions based on gut instinct. You're not making your dietary decisions on
Or you shouldn't,
how you
is what he's
feel.
saying, right?
No, I'm not proposing an argument to make 100% of your decisions based on instinct and emotional.
Well, I'm not even talking about 100%. I very rarely ever make 100% statements.
That's dangerous.
I even said very rarely.
Yeah. You didn't say never.
I would say 50-50 is probably a more balanced approach to life.
I would say that is terrifying.
Mm-hmm. That'll get you in a lot of trouble.
We're left brain, right brain creatures, and there's a reason why we have the left brain and the right brain.
Wait, hold on. There's a reason. Do you know what begging the question is?
You
don't have to. That's fine. I want to help give you tools. I'm not trying to be a dick.
Do anything. Yeah.
So I absolutely fucked something up last week, and now I'm.
You've gotten better information, and you've changed.
Well, I'm gun shy.
Yeah.
I'm so nervous about fucking it up. I'm bringing up the actual definition.
Good. See, that's what skeptics do.
Begging the question, sometimes known by its Latin name, not trying that, is a logical fallacy in which the writer or speaker assumes the statement under examination to be true. In other words, begging the question involves using a premise to support itself. If the premise is questionable, then the argument is bad. And so when you say we have a reason for a left brain, if that reason is because the process of change over time, created a complex central nervous system over millions of years, by which we kind of grew this, to what we are, I would agree.
Right.
But if you're going to say we have a brain because God gave it to us, that's begging the question.
No, I'm not making that argument at all.
Okay, so what is the reason for us having a brain?
Wherever you think because it's useful. There's a useful reason that it helps us function in the world that we live in.
Right.
Well, so I think we might be putting the cart before the horse, but that's just going to be my own nitpick. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, so here's another. Let's look at the other extreme. Let's say we made all of our decisions 100% rationally.
I don't do 100%.
That would be 93. A terrible way to live as well. And there's a proof of that with they've had AI create financial proposals heading into the 2008 financial crisis, and AI got it wrong.
Jay?
And said that can never happen.
I like to think that I try to be an example of skepticism. I try to live as an example, and I don't always do it. But do you think I lack EQ or lack using the appropriate tool as necessary? I'm not Spock. I think you might be building I think you might be building a straw man. I think there might be.
I'm not trying to say rationality is terrible.
No. I don't think you're trying to say it's terrible.
You are 100% rational. I'm just saying that life requires a balance, and I would encourage anyone listening today not to hang your hat completely on rationality. I think that's a mistake that some people do make. I'm not saying you make that mistake.
Well, I actually disagree with you.
Okay.
Because if it is a tool that is useful at the time, right? I'm not talking about, your preferences. I'm talking about whether or not you should break the law. I'm not talking about, something that we can debate over philosophically, that we can. I'm talking about everyday things, the fact that gravity exists, the fact that, if we do, X dangerous behavior, that we run the risk of suffering that consequence. And so when you're using those tools rationally, you are able to have a better life, and you absolutely should. Now, should we ever come to 100%? We can't. We can't. Everything's done on degrees of confidence. And so I have a degree of confidence that this is why. Well, why do I have that degree of confidence? I go into, what information I have that's supplied that. In what situation would you pit rationality against emotion and have emotion be the clear, better?
I can give you a couple.
Give me your best.
Picking a mate.
Okay, so my love
from the crowd.
My love life says you are wrong. I have
what if
dated
you-
some women who were bad for me because I thought they were great.
Yeah.
No,
Right.
Jay,
I'm saying
this
it doesn't-
anecdotal
you don't
evidence.
normally pick the person that's on paper best for you. You don't normally pick that person, and that might not be the best person for you. There's
But it
other
might be.
elements involved.
That's
It could be.
It's very
but most of the
anecdotal.
time
I mean,
it's
how do you?
not.
That's not something to base some kind of a formula on. I mean, that's just hit
I
or
would
miss.
say if you let's broaden it out. Let's say if you walked up to 100 couples on the street
Mhm.
and asked them on paper, was this person the perfect person for you on paper?
I wouldn't ask
How many
that.
would say yes?
I would not ask that because I don't believe there's perfection.
No, that's so binary. I mean, that's
Okay,
not how.
you're
that's not how-
overanalyzing.
No, well, but here's the thing: is
You're
what trying
underanalyzing.
to no, well, what you're trying to get to is more absolutes.
Yeah.
We're not going to give you absolutes, and so
Okay,
if you want
I'm not an absolute person either.
okay,
So what I'm saying is a couple isn't necessarily the sum of their two parts. It's like if on paper you might say that this person belongs with this person, but those two people might end up hating each other, and then you could find two people that are completely different.
Mhm.
That they would have never thought on paper that it would have made sense, but it works out amazingly.
Well, I'll make. I'd like to give you my definition of this. My definition of these relationships, these connections that we make, and it's not necessarily romantic. I have a friendship with Dave,
Yes.
and I don't think I'm wholly unique. I think I have a set of qualities that lies within a bell curve, and that there are plenty of people like me. And Dave, do you think that you are so unique that nobody has been in your situation, or that we might be uniquely unlovable or uniquely, tasked with something that other people haven't to some degree gone through? No. We are both wholly not unique.
Right.
But let me tell you something,
Right.
Jay. The shared experiences that we have, those things that we go through together, that does forge something that I do think is unique. And
Absolutely.
that's fantastic.
Yes.
And I think that along that way, there are decisions that you have to make, and you have to have the right tools for it. But there is nowhere where rationality is needed that you should pick emotion over it.
No, I don't think they're in contrast or in competition with one another.
No, they just have
Yeah, I
different
don't think
realms.
so either.
In the same
No.
way as hermeneutics. Well, I'm glad you agree. If you have anything else you wanted to call about, feel free to
Good
call
to
in
talk to you,
another
Jay.
time. But that was good.
Absolutely. Great talking to you guys, too.
Okay, man.
Good
Take
talking to
care.
you. Take care. I don't think you realize he absolutely agreed with the opposite of what he called in for.
I know. I don't know. I don't really. Yeah, it was puzzling. We just kept coming back to that, and I'm thinking, okay, that's exactly what we're saying here.
No, but he got there.
Yeah. So,
I'm very proud.
yeah.
Anyway.
Let's talk to Alex in Georgia.
Okay. Alex in Georgia. You're talking to Eric and Dave. How you doing?
Guys, how are you?
Hey.
Doing all right. What would you like to talk about?
So I am an atheist who is in a relationship with a wonderful Christian, and she's undergoing, I don't want to call it a crisis of faith because she's not on the verge of losing a God belief, but she's questioning, is the specific brand of religion that she's been brought up in, specific brand of Christianity that she's been brought up in, is that the right thing? And she's seen a lot of particularly social issues that are coming because of that faith that she no longer subscribes to.
Mm-hmm.
And as an atheist, I want to be, or as a boyfriend, I want to be her crying shoulder. I want to be there to offer any support.
But you don't want to be the dick who's trying to deconvert her.
Exactly, and I don't want to step in. That's not the position in the relationship I want.
Right.
as
Nor should you. Yes.
Right. As somebody who's hopefully as rational as I can possibly be, I want to point out logical fallacies with her doctrine or whatnot, and that's just not the right place for me to be in her life.
That's admirable.
How does she feel about your atheism or your lack of a God belief?
We dated for a while before really actually dating because she was afraid of the big bag A word.
Oh.
And then we got to know each other better, and she found out that, maybe you can be an atheist and a decent person.
So
she's really pretty desensitized to the A word.
Okay, so she just overlooks it and figures out that it doesn't matter. It doesn't make you a bad person, so that's good.
Quick disclaimer.
Right, we're super open about it, and there's no stigmatism, I'd say.
Good.
Quick disclaimer, Alex. I'm single, so I don't know if relationship advice is the best to come from me. I will give you my best approximation that I can, but do not hold me liable for relationship issues you have in the future. You have been warned.
Nor me.
Okay.
Well, I guess I'm not really even looking for particularly relationship experience.
Yeah, just the communication between you as an atheist and her as a believer. Yeah. Can you define a little bit more Can you define a little bit more for me her experience? You said she's kind of changing brands, if you will. What's her brand been?
It's a smaller ministry. They focus on Bible literalism as they see it, and their big claim to fame as Christians is that they get back to the original text, which of course you can only go back so far. But she sees justifications within that to be anti-gay and supports particular political candidates. And now, as she's getting out in the world more and meeting more people, she's seeing we've got gay friends, and that in particular has been a catalyst where she's like, oh my gosh, they're just human beings. How has this been used as a justification for something that is clearly so immoral to look down on homosexuality? And that's been a big thing for her.
Good. So she's been
elsewhere.
She's been in the literalist fundamentalist camp and is trying to broaden her view and become a little more open-minded. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, she not just she's trying to be, she is open-minded.
Okay, good.
She is all these things.
All right.
She sees conflict, and she's concerned about her family. I don't even know if disowning is the wrong word. They're a wonderful family, super supportive, but they care about her mortal soul, and that weighs heavy on her, that they will look at her differently and worry that she is less than because of her changing belief.
All right. Well,
sounds like she's on the road out in a way. If you just, you want to support her and you want to be there for her as she's experiencing this crisis, I think you're doing the right thing, and kind of let her journey down the road she's on. It looks like she's opening her eyes, and I think my experience is most of the time, once people start down that road, it can get to where they get all the way out and they realize it's all doesn't make sense.
And
right.
So it sounds like you're doing a really damn good job of being empathetic. And what I would say is what we try and do is meet people where they're at.
Right.
And it sounds like you're meeting her where she's at. And I know that I can absolutely, I can absolutely empathize with somebody who feels that they're in crisis because they are now doubting, some of the framework that they built their lives on, which is a Christian faith.
Hey, Alex, one question: were you a Christian before?
I was very loosely raised Mormon, but my family was on the way out by the time I was.
One thing that I've seen, one thing that I've seen with people in her place is, and my own experience was this, oftentimes people are very fearful of letting go of all that because they don't know where they're going to land. They don't know if there's a safe spot, a soft landing place when they let go of their faith. What am I going to be? Who am I going to be? What's my identity going to be? And so a lot of their fears are not so much wrapped around what they believe or don't believe. It's what is my life going to look like if I no longer identify as a Christian?
Am I still going to love my family?
Yeah. Am I still going to have friends? Am I going to be around people who care for me? And that is a huge thing. She can kind of see that with you probably, but she could probably also say, well, you've never really been where I've been. You don't know what it's like to be around fundamentalists whose very life depends on the veracity of the Word of God and all those things. So just her finding out that there are people out there like me who used to believe that the Bible is the inspired, literal Word of God, inerrant, all those things, and to know that we can come all the way from that to a full-on atheist, surrounded by loving, caring, generous, compassionate atheist friends. Once she sees that that's out there, she may very quickly realize, I don't need to hang on to this anymore. I don't know. I've seen that happen a lot.
I think that she more or less knows that.
Okay.
At least she knows it
really?
intellectually.
That's amazing, dude. That is not how I felt when I was on my way
I know.
out.
We've come a long way, man.
Yeah, I thought I was inventing disbelief.
I thought I was the only one on the planet that's ever experienced this.
Right? Yeah. It's
No, we've come a long way because of shows like this, dude.
woo!
Woo, woo.
I love it. Okay, cool, man. Just keep being there. And if you want to talk to other people, definitely check out our Discord.
Yeah, of course.
And Alex, follow me on Facebook or whatever. I'd love to stay in touch with you and see any way we can help on this journey for you, for her, for you guys, whatever. If down the road you need a secular minister to do your wedding, I'll do that. I'm just kidding.
Actually, I'm
Well, David, I really appreciate your perspective on death. I went through a long time of really grappling with existential dread.
Oh, yeah?
I can't say that it's completely gone, but it's interesting and refreshing to see your perspective.
Thank you, man. Good.
all right. Take care, brother. Thank you for calling in.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Vuru
Love it.
in India.
Oh.
You're talking to Eric and Dave. How are you doing?
Hi.
Hi.
I'm good. How are you guys?
I'm doing all right. What would you like to talk about today?
Yeah, I have been listening for a while, so I just thought how to make you guys understand what God means or how to find God.
Okay, so Guru, we talk to hundreds of people who have different definitions for God. And so when you say learn what God means, I just want you to know I'm not trying to be an asshole.
Yeah.
We're learning what your definition of God means. So what is your definition of God? Hello?
Oh, my definition, it's it's not a definition of the world, right? As you put it up, my definition, right? My definition in this sense, if you trust in yourself, then you can find.
If you trust in yourself, you can find God. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, what is God?
So let me put this in this way.
No, Vuru.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No. You're calling about God. You're saying here's how to find it, and you have not yet given a definition. So I cannot follow you and be honest about anything that I say from here until I know that I'm on the same page with you and understand what you mean by God. So please define God for me.
Yeah, I am trying to define that because we are in a different page, right? We are in different extremes. You are on the other end of it, which is no God, right? Atheism is no God, but you guys are confusing it with lack of belief of gods, right?
We have not accepted the claim.
On that.
We have not accepted the claim, and the claim can be different from person to person, so we need to evaluate what those claims are so that we can be honest about it.
But you have to, if you're going to make a claim for a God, you have to, like Eric said, you have to define what that God is. What is the God that you're claiming exists and that I should believe in?
Yes, please define God.
That's my definition, right? If you believe in yourself, right?
Okay.
Every individual is a God.
If you believe in yourself.
So I'm God?
Yes, you are.
Good.
Okay, cool. Then I believe in your God. Yeah.
I love my God.
Yeah, if we are our own, if you're thinking it's just people thinking about themselves, then what you've done is you've played a definition word game and you've redefined God to be people. And because people exist and we have evidence for them, I would say that your definition is existent. I don't think that your definition is useful because we've just reused a word. We've used another word when we have a perfectly good
I'm a
one.
human. I don't need a
is-
God to believe in. I'm here. So
Yeah.
I don't. God doesn't factor into the equation for me.
It's just people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you saying that there's
exactly what? See, that is exactly what the problem in the minds of the people, right? Because we believe in the concept of evolution, right? We are evolving.
hold on,
And
Vuru,
people,
Vuru,
yes.
we're moving forward and we're not speaking to this definition of God. Please.
No,
if
it's not.
if you want to
it's
prove
not
to
on-
us that humans exist, you don't need to. We're good, and that can be the end of the call.
No, I mean, I'm not talking about human, right? You are talking about finding God through religion.
How the
That is what
fuck
you are
am I
trying
going to
to
find something I don't know what it is? I need to have a definition. So no, I thought you defined God.
As me.
No, yeah, you
Then
said
what is your
finding it. What is it?
Sorry,
Tell me about
what
this
is-
God.
What is your definition? Yeah, what is your definition then?
I
don't need to define a
Yeah.
God. I don't need a God in my life.
Yeah, well, how useful is it to have a conversation if I'm forcing them to take my definition? We meet people where they're at. Vuru, what is your definition of God?
So what is your definition? That's my point. You don't have a definition and you are
I don't need
blabbering and-
one. I'm not looking for
you
God.
don't need, then why you are talking to anyone?
Because they believe in God.
Yes, because there are people who are using their belief and their definition of God to justify horrible things that go on in the world. And it's not just Christianity, it's all over the world.
Yeah.
There are fucking honor killings. There are families that disown their children. There are laws that are put on the books that take away rights for half our fucking population. It's necessary.
Yeah. These shows are necessary
So
because
you think like without God, like it will be a better place? And
I think
everything
without
will go
religion,
okay?
Vuru, I think that if we did not have religion, we would have one less place to couch our bigotry.
No, you're wrong. You're fucking wrong.
How so?
that's your opinion.
Well,
No,
so
it's not opinion. I
okay,
can
then
prove.
if it's not an opinion, what is your definition? And we'll start.
Yes, that is what I'm saying, right?
Cool. What is
it? From where I am calling, right, the land, right, it is the most searched place in terms of God, right? All these moronic other religions, right, which try to invade and try to do everything, nothing they succeeded. But millions of people.
What's he talking about?
Hey, he's definitely not
they have
defining
that
God.
belief.
No.
That is what they are believing in, some God, something or the other.
But when they can call the show and they can talk about what
What
they
is
believe
your
in.
belief? What is your God belief?
Yeah, you right now are running away from the question. Please.
I'm not running away.
Then
I'm not
define
running
God,
away.
please. Please, I'm begging you.
said
Vuru,
that.
please make my day.
Yes.
Define God.
Yes, I am. Yes,
Okay.
I am, right? So if you are not open, right? if
No.
your mind is low-
I'm not. You're talking about finding God. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, no.
Yes.
Define means
You
to give a
don't know
description
people-
of. I want you to not tell me how to find God. I want you to tell me what God is. Is it a person? Is it a man in the sky with a big beard? Is it, the character as described in the Quran or the Bible? I'm asking you to define what God is. Define being to give a definition for, to show what it is. Tell me, what is your God?
Yes, because
Yes.
Not because, what is it?
because of your upbringing, you are stuck in that Christianity and Islamic gods.
I'm not
That is
stuck
the
in
problem.
shit. I'm
We're
talking
not-
to people who call about
You
it.
know this is an atheist show, right?
Yeah, I
Atheist
know.
means not a belief in God.
Okay. Yes, you are coming to the point, right? Not a belief in God, right?
Yeah?
Yeah,
I'm
it's
so
the
tired.
theist claim. Are you making a theist claim, Vuru?
Sorry, what was that? Like,
Are you making a claim about theology? Are you saying that there is a God that exists? Yes or no?
yes.
Does that God have a definition that is different from human?
Yes. It is-
Okay.
Okay.
What
Who-
is that definition?
Who/what is your God? The God you're talking about.
So God is a concept, right? Godliness that has to be found within you by individuals. You have to seek it. That's why we don't call it as God. We call it as moksha, which means like there is no exact translation to it.
Okay.
It's like salvation, right? Finding. Right. It's like researching, right? Even in science.
Yes,
right?
but hold on. It's actually not exactly researching. You're conflating two things. So what you did is you said, I want to make sure that I get this absolutely right, and I don't want to absolutely fly past it. Oh shit! Did I lose it?
What'd you lose?
The point.
You lose God?
No, I didn't lose God. I lost the point.
Oh.
I'm sorry. So Vuru, let's
He's in the kitchen. Sorry.
Let's track back a little bit, right? You were talking about what God is, and God, you said, is a concept. There we go.
Within
Thank
ourselves.
you.
Within
is a
ourselves.
concept,
Right.
So ethics, morality,
humanism,
right?
Decency, kindness, all those things.
Let's go with kindness.
Yes.
Right. If kindness is a concept that we can find within ourselves that we define to describe a very certain behavior, which sounds like exactly what you're saying. I do not believe in a thing that is kindness. I believe that there is a concept because that's a word that we use because it's useful. If you are using a God word to describe a concept, we're not going to fight you because...
No, we believe in that. We just don't need to attach the God label to it.
Yeah.
So we're not looking to find God. The label here on your call says wants to discuss how one can find God. I'm not looking for him or it. Eric and I are humanists. We're atheists. We're decent people. We have kindness, compassion, love, all those things, all those concepts that he was mentioning. But there's absolutely no need to attach the God label to that.
I mean, and
it just confuses it.
And any label where you're anthropomorphizing a concept. Now, please tell me in the comments if I'm using this incorrectly, but I believe it's confusing the map for the place. Instead of describing what this is, right, the way we use kindness and how that is, what you're doing is you're saying because we can be kind, that means there's somewhere I can go and touch
kindness.
Kindness.
Thank you. I am a pretty kind person.
You are. So
everybody, like we all are kind person. We all are
perfect.
Angry person. We all are crazy people. We all
we're
can
humans.
do shit. We all can do everything, like both good and bad.
That means we're humans.
So that is what you can be God. You can be devil. You can be either.
And
so that is the concept.
And
I think we're saying the same thing. You just feel the need to attach the God word to it, and we don't.
It sounds like
trying to attach. You guys are trying to attach to the label, right? Atheism.
No,
right?
no,
it's kind of position, right?
No.
We are making a position or a statement.
We're trying not to play word games. All we want to do is make sure that we're understanding each other.
Yeah.
We want to understand you, and it sounds like your definition of a God is not one that at least anyone in this studio audience would understand. If it's useful to you to redefine something like kindness, compassion, or humanism, if that helps you, okay. But I will warn you that what you're doing is muddying the water.
It's not helpful.
It's definitely not helpful.
Let me help you, right? Let me help you. What you guys are trying to do, like right?
You said moksha is the word. Was that it?
Moksha.
Okay, call it moksha. Don't call it God.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, you can even.
Beautiful. All right. Then we're in agreement.
We're good.
And have a good one, man. Thank you for calling in.
Thanks, Vuru.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Am I wrong?
I don't know what else to say.
Well, I mean, if you want to bring it, it's like.
I haven't been called God in a long time, though. That felt pretty good.
Yeah?
Yeah. Feel a little bigger now.
Yeah.
No, we were saying the same things. He just felt the need to attach the God label to it, which I don't see why we need to do that. Like you said, it muddies the water because when you throw the God label on anything, it automatically conjures up all this
baggage.
Images and all this baggage and all this confusion and these conflicting ideas. Leave that word out of the conversation. We're just humans.
And if you feel like you need to, have a good defense of it.
Yeah.
Because otherwise,
there.
Yeah. So we're going to have to rapid fire through a couple of these,
Okay.
but I do want to make sure I get through them because they have been so
there a
kind as to
long
wait on
time.
the line, especially in London. Michael, what time is it over there right now?
Hi there, can you hear me?
Hello. Yes.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes. What would you like to talk about?
Right. Yeah, hi. Sorry, long time fan, first time caller.
Woo! Cool. Thank you. What's up?
Yeah, so listen, I'm ringing today. A couple of friends of mine have been having a bit of a debate about the normal meme that you see online about Gnostic atheists, agnostic atheists, that kind of thing.
Okay.
And my contention is that you can't
Michael, I'm hearing something in the background.
A lot of.
My ADD is making it impossible to understand what you're saying with the background.
There's a lot of static and stuff on the line. Yeah.
Well, I heard some kind of like talking in the background. It might have been the radio or the show.
Yeah.
Oh, it's better now.
Okay, can you hear me all right now?
That's better.
Beautiful. Please continue.
Okay, great stuff. So my contention is, I forgot what I said before. I've been having a debate with some friends of mine here in London that over the meme that you see all around atheist boards that describe the four sort of sectors of atheism and theism. Gnostic atheism, agnostic atheism, that kind of thing.
Okay.
And my contention is that you can't really be an agnostic atheist. If you look at the definitions of the two words,
Michael?
they directly conflict with each other.
Okay, so do you understand what we mean when we give the definition that we do? Even though you disagree with it, do you understand the concept that is being communicated?
Oh, sure. No,
that's the...
That is,
yeah.
I understand it well.
Fantastic. Hold on, Michael. Because you probably just heard the conversation that we had. If we want to have a productive conversation, then we need to understand what the other person means. And so I'm guessing that you're going to provide an argument to say that we should change the way we're defining things. I just want to get out of the gate. I don't care. Words are fluid and they change. And because those things change, it's more important to understand what the other person means to have that productive conversation than to be a prescriptivist who says, no, you can only use this word in this context. What's important is that we understand each other.
I understand everything that you're saying. However, I'm going off of the definitions as we use them in the English language in the dictionary.
Okay.
So if you consider the definition of atheist, the definition of atheist in the dictionary, it makes no claims, and I'm an atheist myself.
Yeah.
It makes no claims. However, when you look at the definition of the word agnostic in the dictionary, it makes a definitive claim to positive knowledge about God or gods. Specifically, it says, and there's different translations of different dictionaries, but they mainly say the same thing, that an agnostic believes that there can never be any knowledge of a God.
I've been given that definition before.
I don't agree with that. I mean, I've never used it that way.
You haven't used it that way,
Agnostic.
but there are people who have.
Okay.
What's important here is, again, the
what he's saying,
the prescriptivist piece.
Absolutely.
And so, Michael, I want to give you an analogous comparison that might help.
Okay.
Have you had that conversation about what the difference is between sex and gender?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. Did you know that in the dictionary those are listed as synonyms?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. But the purpose of clearly defining sex as different from gender is not to throw the middle finger at the dictionary, but it's to have clear definitions with which we can have deeper conversations, more complex conversations, ones that we can now have the language for. And in the same way that sex and gender, while in the dictionary can be synonyms, are very different when we're having this nuance. We're trying to use these words to have and inject the nuance, to have the language to be able to have the conversation. And so I would like to tell you from the bottom of my heart, Michael, as long as you understand what the other person is saying, and as long as you both have the language to convey the idea, that's what's important. But why would your contention be that, something that I just, does that help kind of explain why, at least on my side, I find that it's acceptable to do that?
Sure. No, I understand exactly what you're saying.
Okay, good.
But, do you agree that the definition of agnostic, in religious terms, not in normal terms, but just in the religious terms, means that somebody that believes that nothing is known or can be known about a god or gods?
So we're okay.
Well, honestly, I think he just kind of tried to go back to saying that not to get hung up on the word, but on what the meaning behind the word is that the person you're talking to is using.
I'm trying to get to the basis of the meaning of the actual word.
Yeah, I don't care, dude.
I think, what Eric was saying is that it means different things to different people. I've always heard agnostic used in the context of we don't know. It's not having knowledge. It's agnostic, and so
it's the knowledge claim, not the belief claim.
Right. It's saying I don't know. It's not saying I know that there's no God. It's saying I don't know.
Now there have been philosophers who have posited that the knowledge of this God is unknowable, and have defined that as agnostic, and as such is the reason why you're reading that. And we have a different philosophy here.
Yeah.
And even if it was the same, we could be completely muddied by using the wrong language.
But it's important
or using language we don't understand.
Right. But Eric's point is I think, to be made here is that don't get hung up on word usage. If you're in conversation with someone or in relationship with someone, and you guys are missing each other because you're using the wrong words, find out what you mean and communicate that way and connect with that human in a way that makes sense, and don't let the words sabotage that communication. Right?
Understood. All right, guys. Well, listen, thank you so much for your time.
All right, thank you, man.
Hope it helps, man. I know that I get what you're saying.
It can be,
I really do.
It can be muddy water.
And it can be frustrating when you go, okay, this is how I define it, and these other people aren't using it the way that I'm, but
the communication is the key. Find the way to communicate.
Let's not miss the forest for the trees.
Mm-hmm.
Let's make sure.
Great. All right,
yeah.
Great stuff, guys.
Thank you.
Enjoy
Take care, buddy.
All right.
I appreciate your time.
You bet. Thanks for the call.
All right, Stephen in New York.
Oh, hi.
Hey,
Stephen.
Hi, Dave.
Hello,
Hey, buddy.
hello. What would you like to talk about? Yep.
Yeah.
Super clear, actually, in comparison to the last guy. My goodness.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was UK.
Yeah, true enough. What's up, bud?
Yeah, I'm a little closer.
Yeah.
So there's one minor thing I wanted to talk about before I get to the big thing.
Okay, just so you know, we are running short, and so we're probably going to have to.
Because he's talking about the grief of not knowing that you'll never see your loved ones again. So that's very appropriate to my subject.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think I'll just stick with that then, and maybe call back another time for my other.
Yeah, let's do that one.
Yeah. So I just came out this week publicly as an atheist.
Mm-hmm.
Woohoo! All right.
Sunday, you're not going to church.
There you go,
Cheers.
And being out now is bringing back a lot of feelings that I had when I first accepted that I was an atheist.
Right.
And the primary one is like, there's the pain of loss when someone dies, and then there's the feeling of. It feels like they're dying all over again when I think back to the fact that I'm not going to see them again, and I'd always been hanging my hope on that.
Right.
That was actually the last thing keeping me holding on to my faith.
Well, let me speak to that because I've dealt with that a lot in the last few months, dealing with my ALS and talking about dying out loud. I understand what you're saying, but the thing that I think we miss when we think that way, and that's a big part of what I'm talking about. When I talk about dying out loud, I'm talking more about living out loud and grabbing the moments and carpeing the fucking diem and seizing the day and living your best life and not letting life pass you by, but making sure that you're getting every single thing you can out of it. And when we live that way, then we're not going to minimize this life in hopes of an eternity with that loved one. So we don't have to worry about missing this because of that. My point with what I'm doing with Dying Out Loud is to say, you know what, if you've got a loved one in your life, if you've got a friend in your life, and you're concerned about not being in eternity with them, set that aside and make sure you're doing everything with them that you can now, and making sure that you're not letting any of the life moments pass by, that you don't miss saying the things to them you want to say and doing the things with them you want to do, and not putting it off and saying, well, we'll get to that later. That's what carpe the fucking diem means. It means grab it now, because you don't know if you have a later. And so you end up living your best life and getting to the end of it with as few regrets as possible. And the thing about missing them on the other side is that you won't be aware that you're missing them, because you won't be aware of anything. And that's the comfort I take in that, is that, you know what, when I go to sleep on that final day, I'm not going to wake up going, oh my God, where's Eric? I wanted one more drink with Eric. I'm not going to be thinking anything, because I'm not going to have an awareness of anything. So there's nothing to miss. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So live your best life now. Grab them now, man.
Absolutely. And when it comes to missing people who've already died, I think it's the biggest tragedy.
Oh, absolutely. You're going to miss them.
Well, and it's not even when you die; it's when they die. You know, I think it's one of the most cruel things someone can do is to cut out a person's grief process.
No.
And say, no, you're going to see them again. Because you wind up in that position. You know, it's not just your own death, it's the death of others, because you mourn them.
Yeah, that's true.
And
well, when we die, that's the point. When I die, I'm very aware of the people that I leave behind, and that they're going to miss me. Yeah. You know, so I'm aware of that. That's where the grief is. You miss the person that's gone.
And honestly, dude, they had their place in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And
celebrate that.
Yeah. And it's okay to grieve. And it's okay for you to grieve as long as you need to. If it takes years, that's okay. Nobody is the arbiter of how you should feel about it. So take that time. But at the same time, like Dave is saying, fucking seize the carp. Make sure that you're not
a fish, Eric.
make sure that you're taking enough time for you to enjoy this life that you have.
And congrats for coming out. I know that's a hard thing sometimes, so hope you're doing okay.
Yeah, so far the reception's been pretty good.
Good for you, man.
I've been rejected by one person, but everyone else has been somewhat grudgingly accepting it.
Well, good. It feels good to be authentic, and it's going to feel better and better as you go along.
All right. Well, I do love your shirt.
Get you one.
Is there anywhere that anybody can
buy it? The last religious event I went
the links.
to was Live Out Loud.
Pardon me?
The last religious event I went to was themed with Live Out Loud, and I think it's a little more fitting in your case.
Yeah, they got close. That's all right. We're going to give them credit for trying.
We got zoomed in here.
Yeah, there's a link on the show notes. Let me see if I get this right. dyingoutlouddave.threadless.org or com or something.
Actually, it's right there at the bottom of the screen.
It is. But you can order them, and it'll support what we're doing, and you can wear a shirt, and people will ask you, what's that all about? And you can tell them.
And the artwork is fucking amazing.
It's a great graphic.
Yeah. And they're actually comfy shirts.
They are good.
Yeah, like nice material.
Mm-hmm.
That's the important part.
I want a bunch of those. Okay.
Get you. Thank you, Stephen.
All right. Thank you very much. And carpe the fuck out of that DM.
You got it, buddy.
Seize it.
All right.
All
right. Take care, man. So we have a caller that we're going to take off the air.
Yeah, we're going to get her. Yeah.
But, dude.
Oh, I love this.
I love that you came out. It's so rare to be able to have this kind of conversation, because when you talk about dying, you're often surrounded by, this religious family that they're grieving, and you understand how callous and cruel it can be for that to be the moment that you want to have this conversation. And yet because we've often had it coming from the other end. I'm in the process of grieving, and that's when Uncle comes in and says, well, what you really need is Jesus. And it's like, are you really?
They're in a better place now.
Yeah,
and
fuck you.
God had a plan, and God needed a little angel. And
it hurts, because it really does
Minimizes it. Yeah.
It minimizes the grieving process.
Absolutely.
And then you wind up with that situation where this person is now grieving twice because the first time he was just sad that he wasn't going to see them in this life, but now he's got to handle the idea that they blinked out of existence. That
he's
part
not going to see them again.
Yeah, that part of them that was important in his life is gone now. And yet, to have that conversation, to stand and fucking die out loud, to say, let's live this life and let's do it together and let's do it with purpose. Mm-hmm. It's fucking important. And I'm so glad that you're here doing it. Buy the fucking shirt. Check him out. And for fuck's sake, get him out to your area. Get him speaking. Get him around this country because we need to spread it. We need a good fucking excuse. And dude, you're a good fucking excuse to have this conversation.
Thank you, my man.
Absolutely. Love you, dude.
Love you, too.
I want to say thank you so much to those people in the back. Can we please get a round of applause?
Yes.
For our crew. Thank you. We would not be able to do this without them. I want to say thank you to the live studio audience. Thank you for coming out.
Yes.
Do you remember how to throw up the love rings?
No.
It's like this.
Oh, look at that.
Right?
Isn't that special?
And we start by saying, if you don't believe, we're building this community and we're doing it together. We're doing it in this life. And we're glad that you're here. Do you remember how to end it?
I've only done this one other time, Eric.
Okay, cool. Yeah, scoot in over here.
Oh.
This way. You got it?
Okay.
And what we're going to do is we're going to say, if you do believe, we don't hate you. We just think you're wrong.
Right.
All right, you ready?
Okay.
If you do believe, we don't hate you. We just think you're wrong. See you next week. David, I'm so glad you came out, bud. Come on.